Hello, I'm Brett Knowles from PM Squared Consulting. This video walks you through the third of 5 quick wins that we developed with a number of significant power distribution companies around improving their FP&A process. This one appears to be the most complicated, but in fact is the easiest to implement, and that's eliminating the back and forth cycles. To remind you, most planning processes have 6 cycles between the senior team and the planning unit, and on average that takes about 16 weeks for those 6 cycles to occur. And the question here is, how can we get rid of those cycles? The process really is almost a 5-day workshop where on day 1 we build the corporate strategy map. So what you're looking at here is an example strategy map for Acme Utilities. And what you'll see is we outline the specific strategic objectives for this year, as well as their priorities. Now, it's the senior leadership's job to develop these objectives and the weightings. In most cases, these strategic objectives will transcend time, but the weighting will shift year on year. In fact, for most of our clients, they may even revisit the weighting on a quarterly basis based on changes in the economy, exchange rates, the price of oil, etc. So imagine this taking place in a hotel where the leadership team has booked, the main conference area for the week, and in one of the rooms in day 1 in which the CEO and her or his direct reports agree to this strategy map. Now, in some cases, the rest of the leadership team is in the room, but it's kind of like the United Nations. They're sitting in an outside circle observing the conversations that go on. In day 2, we take this strategy map and shift into different rooms, one for each of the planning units. So this might be for each of the utility companies. It could be one for each region, one for each product, or even department. And the idea is each area now has their senior manager, who is probably participating in the day 1 workshop, now leading their own leadership team and developing their strategy map. So, for example, the operations team builds theirs, the sales team builds theirs, and so forth. And you'll see that each of these strategy maps is different than the corporate one, but are responding to those strategic imperatives. They describe what is their role in executing the strategy and setting up their weighting. So now they're working in multiple meeting rooms in that hotel environment. And what they'll do is, towards the end of the day, get together and think of posting these on the walls and looking for the alignment across the departments. Now, we do it in a slightly more sophisticated way than that, but the net is we can give a numerical score for the alignment and identify where the outliers are to ensure that we have the cascade correct. So now, by the end of the second day, we've got an agreement on the next level of detail down. Think of day 1 as a 30,000 foot strategy map, a jet airplane at full altitude. This is kind of the cascade. It's like 20,000 feet, a little bit more detail in each of the target scopes. In day 3, what we do is we identify and align the drivers. So this is the ontology process that we touched on during the quick win number 2, where each department, in this case, now has their strategic objectives on the left and their weighting, and across the top, their core processes. And they score the impact of their processes on each of those strategic objectives to identify where are their critical performance nodes, the black squares. And they can also determine their supports. What support do they need from other departments, regions, products, etc. And what this allows us to do now is, first off, identify where are the critical business drivers for this year. Secondly, we can begin to identify what those target numbers might be in order to hit the corporate numbers determined on day 1. Again, by the end of day 3, we can join these together into this super large spreadsheet that allows us to see exactly the alignment across the departments and make sure that we have drivers in every area that align to the overall goal. Day 4. Now, using those drivers and the strategic priorities and the targets set on day 1, we can actually do a rough cut cascaded plan. So in the case where we're using the spreadsheets, this is a matter of taking those models that we developed in Quick Wins 1 and 2 and beginning to apply them based on the drivers we've identified through this alignment workshop. In most cases, we have actually swapped out the spreadsheets by this point in time and are using one of the New Age planning documents. The benefit of the New Age planning documents is that we can A, instantly bring in the existing spreadsheets, and B, provide the alignment across the departments like we're describing it here. And I bring that up now only because I just realized that we've outlined Anaplan being the tool we used here, and I just wanted to explain that. Finally, day 5, we can make sure that we have the alignment. We now got the rough cut strategies or rough cut aggregate plans. We've done the alignment across the departments. Now we should be able to get together, and we do this work Thursday night to Friday morning, and we literally figure out the free cash flows and other key drivers for the business and make sure they're within the acceptable standards for the corporate going ahead. And now we've got a signal strength analysis that we can go forward with on day 5 so that we can then cascade the rest of the plans. For us, this equates across those 3 core organizations where we did this as part of the Quick Win series, took about 10 weeks out of the planning cycle. So we still had 6 weeks of work left, but they reduced a significant portion of it, even if they hadn't done the other wins. For the other 2 areas that had done the other wins, their reduction was more significant, and they ended up with a planning cycle that was about 3 weeks long. Delivering this is the same team that I just described and is typically done in a 1-week period to give us that fast turnaround. So it took us about 3 days on the first pass through to help each planning unit develop their starting strategy map. We then ran this 5-day workshop, and we incorporated, as I mentioned before, the 27 drivers which came out of the Simply Does It program from Quick Win 2 and the integrated spreadsheets that came out of Quick Win 1 or the more modern planning tool. And what this gave us is from the day we launched the first corporate strategy planning workshop, it was 7 days until we had the first rough cut plan agreed to.